Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we're back here today with another edition of Against the Odds. So this week we are playing something I am super excited about. So when this card was spoiled in Oath of the Gatewatch, the first thing that came into my head is, oh my god, this has gotta be an Against the Odds. Like, this card is built for Against the Odds. Why, I'm sure it's not true. It feels like someone at R&D watched the series and said, we're going to give Seth a sweet card for Against Odds. So yes, we are playing a Hedron alignment deck this week. So Hedron alignment is this wacky blue enchantment. It costs 2 and a blue, has hexproof, and it has this really weird wall of text that says, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may reveal your hand. If you do, you win the game if you own a card named Hedron alignment in exile, in your hand, in your graveyard, and on the battlefield. So basically, what we need to do to win the game with Hedron alignment is get one in each zone somehow. Obviously, the hand and the battlefield aren't too bad. You get cards in your hand naturally, and you can put them on the battlefield by casting them, paying their mana cost, which really isn't that ridiculous. 2 and a blue isn't a ridiculously hard mana cost to pay. The challenging ones are graveyard and exile. Those ones take a bit of work. Obviously, it also has a secondary ability. You can pay 1 and a blue and scry 1, which is kind of helpful if you have a bunch of extra mana. We can use Hedron alignment to help find more copies of Hedron alignment. But the challenge really is, especially in Standard, is we need to be able to have a way to go through our entire deck. We really don't know if our 4th Hedron alignment is the second card to the bottom in our deck. And if we're going to win the game by aligning the Hedrons, we got to get to all 4 copies. So that is the challenge of the deck, is being able to find and put together all 4 copies. We also need to be aware of our opponent somehow interacting with our Hedron alignment. Say they exile one from our hand. If we already have one in exile, we literally can't win the game. Like, there's no way of getting a card back from exile. If we have one on the battlefield and somehow don't pay attention and cast a second one, which hopefully I'm better than that, we just can't win the game because we have 2 on the battlefield, so one of the other zones is going to be missing their copy of the Hedron, so they will never align and win us the game. So how do we go about getting the Hedrons to align? Well, first off, I mentioned that the most challenging zones are graveyard and exile, so our deck is built around putting things in our graveyard. We have 4 Gather the Packs. You reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You can put a creature from among them in your hand, put the rest in the graveyard. 4 Tagum Schemings. I actually just realized this morning that it is T-A-I-G-A-M. I had thought the I was an L. It kind of looks like an L, so I think I said Telgum Scheming throughout the entire video. Anyway, look at the top 5 cards of your library, put any number of them into your graveyard, and put the rest back on top in any order. One of the worst cards I have ever played in a deck, but it's actually really good in this deck. And for Scout the Borders, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You can put a creature or a land from among them into your hand, put the rest in your graveyard. So basically, we have 12 cards whose main purpose is just to dump cards in our graveyard, 5 at a time, 5 at a time, 5 at a time. This helps us cycle through our deck and hopefully get some Hedron alignments in our graveyard, and then eventually they'll go from our graveyard into exile, and that's how we achieve those 2 conditions of the Hedron alignment win. So, since we have 12 cards that are built around dumping cards in our graveyard, we get to play 4 Dig Through Times and 2 Treasure Cruises. These cards are really key. First off, they are the way that we can get a Hedron alignment from our graveyard, which gets in there from all those self-mill cards we have, into the exile zone, because they have Delve, so we can exile cards from our graveyard to help reduce the mana cost of the spell, and one of the cards we can exile is the Hedron alignment. So that takes in, helps make sure we can consistently get a Hedron alignment into exile. We dump them in the graveyard, then exile them with our Dig Through Times and Treasure Cruises. But these cards also are card draw / tutory spells. I mean, Dig Through Time lets us look at the top 7, put 2 of the cards in our hand. Treasure Cruise just draws us 3 cards, and we can consistently cast these cards on the cheap. 2 mana, 1 mana for Treasure Cruise, sometimes pretty regularly on turn 3. If we go turn 1 land, turn 2, one of our 12 self-mill cards, we have enough cards in our graveyard that we can dig our Treasure Cruise on turn 3, and then kind of chain that together. So not only are we dumping cards in our graveyard with the self-mill, we are also drawing a ton of cards with these Delve cards, so we are cycling through our deck really fast, and that's why I'm calling the deck Turbo Alignment, because we're basically a goldfishy combo deck. We're looking to fill our graveyard, abuse the graveyard with our Delve cards, and cycle through our deck so we find all 4 copies of Hedron Alignment as fast as possible. Then we also have a bit of interaction. Even though we're a goldfish deck, you can't really play in standard with no interaction, especially with this deck. It's not like we're killing people on turn 3 or turn 4 very regularly. I think it's possible to get the Hedrons aligned on turn 4, but it takes like the ultimate nut draw. But really, it's more turn 6, turn 7. So we need to have ways to stabilize against our opponent's creatures. That means for Languish, just our Wrath, all creatures get -4/-4 until end of turn. And for Murderous Cuts, it also has Delve, so we have 10 cards in total, counting the Dig Through Times and Treasure Cruises, that can exile a Hedron alignment from our graveyard, but it just destroys any creature. And then we have a couple of really specific cards in Den Protector and Oath of Jace. See, they have very important roles in our deck. Den Protector is our only creature, so we are not going to be winning any games by creature beats. That's just not going to happen with this deck. But it is basically has an Eternal Witness ability. 2 mana 2/1 has Megamorph, so you can cast it face down as a 2/2, flip it up for 1 and a green, and when you flip it up, you get to return a card from your graveyard to your hand. So one thing that can happen with all that self-mill that we have, which we don't have that much control over, none of those cards let us put a Hedron alignment into our hand. So if they hit, say we cast a Gather the Pack and we hit 3 Hedron alignments, which would be rare, but it could happen, we have to dump all 3 of those in our graveyard, and that means we need to be able to get one back because we need to fulfill the hand in the battlefield condition. So basically we need 2 Hedron alignments in our graveyard at some point, so we can exile one with a Delve card, and 2 in our hand at one point, so we can cast one and leave the other one in our hand. So Den Protector makes sure if we ever get 3 Hedron alignments in our graveyard, we can get one back. Also just a good value card. We can get back a Languish or a Murderous Cut or a Dig Through Time to keep churning through our deck. And then the one Oath of Jace, basically like Den Protector, we don't have a way to discard cards from our hand, so if somehow, when we draw a card every turn in our opening hand, we end up with 3 copies of Hedron alignment in our hand, we need to have a way to get one in the graveyard, because we need 2 in the graveyard and 2 in our hand. So this is our way to make sure we can discard one from our hand and put it into the graveyard. So that is the deck. So basically, 12 cards designed to dump cards in our graveyard as fast as possible. That's basically all they do. Sometimes we hit a Den Protector, our one creature with a Gather the Pack or something. Sometimes we get a land with our Scout the Borders, but mostly they are just self-mill cards. And then we have all those Delve cards to abuse the cards we're putting in our graveyard, and then we have Den Protector and Oath of Jace to deal with specific problems, and I guess Languish as well deals with a specific problem of our opponent having a ton of creatures on the battlefield and beating us down. So mana base wise, we have 12 fetches. These are here not only because they're great mana fixing, but they also help fuel our Delve cards. Then we have a Cinderglade and a Canopy Vista. These ones are a little weird because they're off color. We don't have any white mana costs in our deck. We don't have any red mana costs in our deck, but they are fetchable by different lands. Like Bloodstained Mire can get green mana thanks to Cinderglade. So after the fetches, we have a bunch of Battle for Zendikar duels, a single Cinderglade. It might look a little weird, but that's there because we can fetch it, and it gives us green mana off of Bloodstained Mire. A Llanowar Waste, a Canopy Vista, 3 Sunken Hollows, 2 Lumbering Falls. So I guess in total we have 6 creatures if we count the 2 Lumbering Falls. Still, don't expect many creature beats wins with this deck. Then 3 Swamps and 2 Islands is our basics. So sideboard-wise, 4 Duresses, 2 Dispels, 2 Disdainful Strokes. Basically ways to protect our combo and to interact with our opponent's hand and counter spells. 2 Negates, 2 Ultimate Prices, a little bit more removal, and then 3 Infinite Obliterations. I don't think our deck is fast enough to beat the Eldrazi ramp deck regularly, but with an Infinite Obliteration, I think we have a shot if we can get rid of the Ulamogs, for example, or the World Breakers. While their deck will still resolve a huge threat eventually, I think Infinite Obliteration might buy us enough time to align the Hedrons before we die. So anyway, that's the deck. As far as the odds of this working, I'm really not sure. It's kind of a unique build, because it is like an all-in combo build of Hedron alignment. My first instinct was to build a regular control deck and just kind of kill our opponent's stuff, draw some cards, hope that we align the Hedrons eventually. The problem was, it's really hard to get all 4 Hedrons out of your deck in Standard. We're not playing Legacy where Intuition can just dig up all 3 copies at once for 3 mana. Instead, we really need to naturally have a way to go through our whole deck. And the only way I really found to do that in a reasonable amount of turns is to use all those graveyard spells. It would just take too long to play like a Esper control deck and just naturally play the deck and hope that we draw into our Hedron alignments. We would either need 20 turns or something, or just happen to get really lucky. So this I think is the best way of trying to align the Hedrons in Standard. Anyway, I'm going to say maybe 15% of the time we should be able to pull off the combo. So that would be about 1 out of every 6 or 7 games. But maybe it's better than I think. It looks weird on paper. So we'll see how it plays out in practice. Anyway, make sure to check out the website, mtggoldfish.com. That's where you'll find the article for this Against the Odds. You'll find the voting for next week's Against the Odds, decks, prices, metagame strategy, pretty much anything and everything you could want related to Magic the Gathering. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to click the subscribe button that's about to pop up on the bottom of your screen. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.